What do you feel is the purpose of us as human beings?
I think that's a very good question. I think as an atheist, I think that people who believe in any gods have jumped to a premature conclusion based on very limited evidence. Now, the evidence that we have today has shown that we all have common ancestry based on the facts that evolution is true.
How do people jump to a conclusion? What is the conclusion they make about God? What is the concept of God?
Say like 3,000 years ago, one of the first monotheistic gods was Yahweh, invented by the ancient Hebrew Israelites. And then they took that concept forward to Christians. And then Christians took that concept forward to Islam. And the ancient Israelites got their concepts from the ancient Babylonian and Ethiopian gods and Egyptian gods. So that's what the history shows, that people try to jump to conclusions about where we came from. That's a good scientific question. Science now looks at the evidence, analyzes it, tests it, builds instruments like microscopes, telescopes, and finds out what the actual truth is, gives it to people who won't accept it because they've been indoctrinated into their beliefs.
In order to say that it's misconstrued, what is the concept of God?
I define God concept as something that, God is a concept in your brain. Yeah? Human beings made up this concept in their brain because they didn't understand certain natural forces around the world, earthquakes, lightning, and things like that, which they didn't understand how these things could happen, the wind and stuff like that. So they made up this concept of a God which is more powerful than their leaders at the time, because therefore they're doing things which the leaders couldn't stop. So therefore the concept of God started thousands of years ago from misunderstanding the earth that we live on.
So to you, the concept of God is an explanation of what things that we don't understand?
Yeah, that's right. If you make up a God and you try to make the God in your image, he has to have certain anthropomorphic qualities like anger, hatred, jealousy. He wants to be worshipped. And if you follow the wrong God, then obviously those people are following the wrong God and not giving him the respect that he wants. So he commands these people to go and kill them. Like in the Bible, you had the people were commanded to kill all the Amalekites by God, kill all the Canaanites. These stories incited genocide by the leaders who wanted to control the people. That is why religion, in my view, is very divisive. People need to start thinking for themselves and start realizing that the gods that they believe in are not true. We as human beings could come together and live together as one and work out how to live together in peace and harmony without looking to a sky daddy up in the sky who's going to reward us or punish us depending on what beliefs you're following.
So in answer to all of that, why is your answer atheism, basically?
I see religions as very divisive. You've got Muslims, Christians, Jews, Hindus, all believing that they're in conversation with the creator of this universe. Anyone who doesn't share their beliefs are going to burn in hell. For instance, if you're a Muslim, you think Christians are burning in hell and Jews are burning in hell. If you're a Jew, you think Muslims are burning in hell, But you think that the creator of this whole universe and galaxies and solar systems has got a place set aside for punishing people because they happen to be born into a different belief system. If you were born as a Muslim, in a Muslim house, you didn't choose to be born a Muslim. If you were born as a Christian, you didn't choose to be born a Christian. If you was a Jew, you didn't choose to be born Jew. But you just believe that you happen to be born into the right belief, just out of chance. And everyone else is going to burn in hell.
But you could argue that heaven and hell are concepts, not actual places. So what do you say to that?
That's my point exactly. Heaven and hell are concepts to instill fear into people, to not think. If you start thinking about it and start leaving your religion, then that would make the religion die. For instance, if you're a Muslim, they have a penalty of apostasy. If you're a Muslim and you leave Islam, the punishment for apostasy is death. And 13 countries in this world carry that apostasy penalty for people who leave Islam. Even if you just criticize Islam, there's 3 bloggers this year, 2015, who was hacked to death and beaten to death in Bangladesh. In Saudi Arabia, you can't even criticize Islam, you can't even build a church. You can't even say, I don't think that this belief is true. Even if you don't, because if you do say that, you're on the serious risk of being like, seen as a heretic or apostate and beaten or stoned to death or even beheaded. Christianity has moved on from that. Christianity tries to keep people in the faith by having the fear of hell still, and the reward of heaven. And the fact that they say that Jesus Christ redeemed himself, was killed as a human sacrifice for our sins. And that in itself is an immoral concept, But for some people, that holds them in it. For us, we say, free your mind. Think for yourself. A religion that enslaved black people and took them out of Africa on the first slave ship called the Good Ship Jesus. Why are you following that religion? Why are you following this God that doesn't exist? We are adults, we can think. From the age of 3 years old, I know the difference between right and wrong. You do as well. You don't need a God to tell you it's wrong to kill people, it's wrong to rape people, it's wrong to steal. We can work that out ourselves. You have laws from the United Nations Human Rights Act, laws from the majority to protect the rights of the minority.
So, can I ask, have you been an atheist all your life, or was you brought up religious?
I was raised as a Catholic.
Raised as a Catholic, and at which point did you decide that Catholicism is not the way forward? And what was it about it that made you change your mind?
Well, when I was younger, I started reading about different religions around the world. World religions, religions older than Catholics, Christianity, about beginning stories, creation stories from around the world, and comparing them and seeing how millions of people believed in the old Greek myths, millions of people believe in the Mayan myths, millions of people believed in the Egyptian myths and stuff like that. And the Egyptian religion ran for about 5,000 years. Christianity's only been going for about 2,000 years. So who's to say that they were believing in the wrong thing? But when you look at the concept and why people developed that concept, you can understand where it came from. And right now, people have got so much information now about where we came from and the origins of the world and the universe and the galaxies, that the gods that we used to believe in are fading into non-existence. It's called the gods of the gaps. And the gaps are getting smaller and smaller and smaller.
So, I guess, how do you carry yourself? Like, what do you practice? Do you follow any practices, any rituals, like from African history, for instance? Or do you just live life as is?
Well, we don't have no rituals or practices. We don't believe in any gods or kind of like laws. We make up our own laws based on consequential ethics. If you understand that if you was to hurt somebody, you know what that feeling feels like. It's mirror neurons. If, say for instance, I broke my arm, you'd instantly flinch because you know what it feels like to break your arm. So we know that you don't want to do that to someone else. And everyone wants to live in a world which is more peaceful for our children and for ourselves than a world that is more violent. So we worked out that the best way to create a peaceful world is to be a nice and peaceful person yourself. You don't need no God to tell you that. And if someone says, if I haven't got Christianity or God to tell me that, what's going to stop me from going out killing and raping and killing and doing all the kind of things to people? They don't understand that if they're not doing it now, it's not because of the fear of a God or the rewards of going into heaven. It's because they're a good person. If you would say for instance, someone like Hitler, who killed all the Jews, if he on his deathbed converted to be a Christian, then Christians will say he'll be in heaven. Because all the Jews that he murdered are in hell because they didn't convert to Christianity. To me, that is immoral. Doesn't make no sense. And anybody who's beyond the age of 5 should be able to see that and work that out himself. But for some people, it's difficult because the cultural ties that religion have, if you give it up, then you might be ostracized by your family. Like I said, in Muslim countries, you can be treated as an apostate and killed. So if you're a Jehovah's Witness or Seventh-day Adventist, they would, push you out of the whole fold.
So at the bottom line of what you're saying is that as human beings, we should be able to make up our own mind, make our own decisions, and follow our own rituals, practices that we want to follow, and that's it. And come together. That's the point.
Yeah. We should have faith in our own ability to do that.
But With Christians and Islam and Judaism and all these things, they come together as with a like-mindedness, right? So if you take away all the confusions with punishment, like you said, if you find to not, in some countries you're going to be punished for certain things, if you were to take that all away, would you agree with the way they live their life, or the way they're supposed to live their life according to the Holy Book?
The way I see it is like Muslims, Christians, they have a lot in common with us, everybody. They want to see a good world. They want to see a peaceful life. Most of them, they want to see the world get together as unity, yeah? But the concept of having a heaven and a hell, and having a Muslims and non-believers, and the non-believers are called kuffars, which is a derogatory term, you know, it's very divisive. Because if you're a Muslim and you think that all Christians and Jews are going to burn in hell because they're not worshipping and respecting the God that created this whole world, then you think that they're being disrespectful to the God. You may try to convert them. If they don't want to convert, Muslims say they can live in a world where you got the jizya, they pay the tax, you know what I mean? And they give them a certain time to convert. If they still don't convert, then obviously they can be killed as heretics. Or if you're a Muslim and you decide Islam's not for me, then you're called an apostate. And the punishment for apostasy is death. So this violence is not the way forward. You have to come together and realize you've got to have a system whereby you're not threatening to kill people. You're not giving them rewards in heaven. Or if you're like some Muslims who think if you commit the ultimate act for your God and die a martyr, you get 72 virgins and rivers of wine. To me, that is just totally immoral. It's an immoral concept to have that. It hinders people coming together and uniting and finding a better way. Because there is a better way. As human beings, we can come together as human beings, as adults, and find a better way. United Nations came up with the Human Rights Act in the 1940s, which is much better than any laws in the Bible or the Quran. Now, because it treats people with respect. Whether you're a man, whether you're a woman, whether you're gay, whether you're straight, whether you're religious or non-religious, then people have the equal respect.
But those rights can be abused, can they not?
They can be abused, but there's laws.
And there's right, so you could. It's the same system.
Yeah. Not everyone has signed up for the Human Rights Act, yeah. But if you had to say, for instance, a Muslim country where you've got Sharia law, whereby the punishment for stealing is to have your hand chopped off, that is an immoral, barbaric act.
You could say that sending someone to prison is immoral.
It's better to send someone to prison, yeah? Because you're removing them from society, so they're no longer dangerous to society. You've got them in an enclosed environment whereby no matter what the crime is, they can have a certain amount of time, depending on what crime it is, gives them time to reflect on what they've done.
But we also have the punishment of death in the Western world as well. So
we don't have the death penalty in England.
Yeah, we don't have it in England, but it's in the Western world.
In some states in America, they don't have the death penalty. In some states, they do. In this country, we've progressed from that. We've learned that the death penalty is not a way forward, because you might kill someone for a crime and find out later that the person was innocent. So that's an immoral, barbaric way of dealing with things. You put someone away, lock them up, keep them in confinement, away from the rest of society, so they're not a danger to anybody else. That's a much better system.
People have gone to prison and spent 20 plus years and been found to be innocent. It's still immoral. So my thing is, in anything that you do, there's going to be something that's immoral. There's going to be people that take advantage of it and things like that. So aside from that, in religion, what is your actual problem with religion? Aside from the fact, do you want to go? Aside from that, my main problem with religion is that you've got religious privilege in this country. If you've got a religious organisation, they don't pay no tax. Yeah. Yet they have 26 bishops in the House of Lords making laws that we have to abide to. Yeah. You've got divisive faith schools, which have Muslim schools, you've got Christian schools. They're perpetuating that division and indoctrinating children that their religion is the true word of God, you know, and everyone else is going to burn in hell. You have religions that perform circumcision on children, saying that this circumcision is a covenant from God. God wants you to cut off the tips of the children's penises. Now, people say there's a medical reason for that, but we're not living in the desert 3,000 years ago. Everyone has a shower in their house now. You can take showers, so there's no medical reason for doing that. And in some sects in New York, they actually have a Jewish sect whereby the rabbis have the ancient practice of using their mouth
to suck the blood out as they cut the penis off. To me, that is paedophilia. And the only reason why it's given a buy is because of religious exemption. And to me, that is so divisive, it's so immoral, it's so barbaric, that this has to end. We have to come together and learn that this is not the way human beings should be living. In this day and age, 2015, we are smarter than that.
To see more videos like this, subscribe to Titans TV down below. Thanks.
The greatest darky that bite with shark teeth and hate malarkey. Who you? The greatest heartbeat, ancient Egypt as a matriarchy. Who me? The one with the S on his chest when the motherfucker go by. Who you? The one everybody calls your highness cause the weed got you feeling so high. Who me? My life is priceless, my life is righteous cause who you? Aww, has once again made my life just like it was.